take a look at the, oh, perfect. So we already did the welcome, and now on to the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Like I said, I think these were sent out shortly ago. So give everyone a couple minutes to take a look at these and see if they have any changes they'd like to have made. All right, anyone have any suggestions for ways to change the minutes, or everyone good? All right, so hearing no objection or no
Hold on, Brian, you're too fast.
My apologies, I'll slow down.
The only suggestion I have is just when they're published, wherever they're printed, the chat is hard to read. I don't know if you can, like, whoever publishes them can bold the names or something, but just to make it a little more how the chat looks.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Was there a motion?
Yep.
All right, is there a second to the motion? Someone give me a thumbs up if you're going to second the motion. All right, we've got a second. Any opposed to approving the minutes? No opposing, they're approved. All right, moving forward, council update. Councilor Fagin, how are you? And what do you have to share?
Doing well. I hope everyone's doing okay too. It's getting to be a little bit crazy out there again. Couple things to share, and I think Shannon's probably going to touch on one of or two of them a little bit in more detail, but two of my favorite events are coming up on the 13th and 14th, the night market. And this year it's being combined with the La Strada. It's a chalk festival that's been going on. This will be the third year. My wife volunteers helping find the artists and bringing them in from all around the country. So the first year there were, I don't know, I'd say 20 different artists, just an amazing event. Last year was 4 local artists where everything was distance and no people were there. So it was just filmed. And this year they're going to be people, and it's smaller, but it's combined with the night market. So it'll be huge. And there'll be 7 artists flown in from different parts of the country. If you've seen like internet pictures of 3D chalk art and chalk art, this is going to be at that level. It's just phenomenal. The people that are doing it are professionals. This is what they do. So if you get a chance, that's going to be fantastic. Couple things. Last night at council, we had the typical what council does work sessions. So we had a work session on undergrounding utilities. So that's the policy to take the power lines that are over our heads and put them underground, and how do we implement it? Hasn't been looked at since 2005, and it needs some work. So staff brought together some recommendations for us to look at. We also did a really exciting one, which is a work session on garbage rates. So one thing people don't know is that our garbage rates are set the same across the city, even though we have 5 different haulers. So city council has to approve the changes. It's not a change that we calculate or we work in, staff does that. Typically it has a lot to do with Metro's rates. So Metro sets a rate for what it costs to remove a ton of garbage, and they've increased it by 17% this year. So we're going to have to increase rates, and I think our increase will be the first one in 3 years, and it'll be like $1.11 if you get a $35 container. We're working on plans to make the open air Beaverton and the First Street Commons more permanent. So depending on the weather and which option we go with, but staff's looking at that. It's going to be extended for sure for this year. And then we'll try and figure out what we need to do to make it permanent. Some of the changes that are going to have to take place are, so open air Beaverton is where people can put chairs and tables outside of business in like the parking area or on the street parking. And for the, what I'll call the COVID year, even though I think we may be talking COVID years, but the first year of COVID, we did not require that they meet ADA standards. So if you walked out the door, there'd be a curb that would go down and then they could have tables. What we're going to require is that it come up to ADA standards so that there's no drop off. So small changes like that, but we're definitely interested in making sure it's permanent. And then another interesting one that we're going to start talking about next, I think next 2 weeks from now, are the downtown parks and open spaces planning. So we haven't really done a lot of that planning before with THPRD. Most of the planning for parks and trails and things have been outside of the downtown core. So this is going to be some interesting work as the downtown develops more. Where are we going to put open spaces for people and what do they need to look like, and that type of conversation. So that's what I put together for tonight. But like normal, if anyone has questions, let me know, and I'm here to answer them for you.
Do we have potential places for these open spaces?
There are always lots of potential spaces for or places for open spaces. I have not seen a map of where they all are yet, but they will start from a policy standpoint. It will start with, you know, how many and how far do you want it, or I should say, how close do you want people to be to it, right? So, you know, the park district has a policy where they want to get a park or a open space within a quarter mile of every resident. Is that what we want to do with this? And if we do, what does that look like? And then you start looking from there at what spaces would be there and how would they come together.
And good access to it would be important too, right? That people should be able to walk instead of having to cross like TV highway or something.
Yeah, crossing Canyon and Farmington are a big deal. Yep.
I just had a quick question. I was reading Shannon's update about the budget, and it looks like it was a $10 million decrease, which I'm not surprised about at all with COVID. I'm just wondering, was that like the fall off of some maybe one-time expenses, or were there some hurtful cuts like that were pretty tough that are either people or programs?
No, we were very fortunate. This year anyway, we did not have to get into the really painful cuts or decreases that other cities had to do. Beaverton's had a strong, solid budget for a long time. And because of the fact that we set a policy for reserves, meaning how much money do you have in savings, basically, we haven't had to do the things like Portland where staff had to take 20% cuts in salary. We've been able to get through it with a priority of council being that we don't want anyone on staff to lose their job, and we don't want anyone to have to take a pay cut. We want to be able to get through what we see as a temporary time and get back to normal, taking care of all the employees.
That's great.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How's the new city manager doing?
She hasn't started yet. I will let it slip that we had an executive session last night, which if you don't, there are certain things that council is prescribed by law to be able to talk about outside of the public purview. Some of them are like personnel issues, real estate transactions, things like that. She actually did join us last night, which was really fun. She's in the process of moving up to Beaverton. So leaving her home in California and coming up here. And I'm looking forward to having her. It's the 23rd is her first week here. So the 24th will be her first council meeting. So it's exciting. And I'm trying to make sure that, you know, I keep my expectations in line with the fact that she's going to come on board and it's going to take a while to get her feet under her and learn about our city and our community. But I'm excited. Excellent. Well, thank you. It's great being here.
Muted, right?
Thanks. On to the VAC liaison update. Shannon.
Cameron is still trying to get in, and so I may have to pause and try and upgrade him, all of that stuff. But I, as per usual, sent you the city update. So I will go over a couple of those with you. And then the rest of it is in the email in more detail. As Sarah pointed out, the budget was approved, and you've addressed that a little bit. Save the water this summer. So Beaverton water consumption is at its highest in the summer, and often doubles or triples over when it's used the rest of the year. And we're really pushing for people to attempt to conserve water this year, especially since there is a national shortage of chlorine. And so we have to be careful about that too. And so we recommend that you adjust your sprinkler heads and water in the early morning or late evening, or water less often for shorter cycles, and just do everything you can to conserve water. Councilor Fagin touched on night market and the Chalk Art Festival. So I think we'll move on from those city updates and go to the fall recruitment is coming up for boards and commissions. And if you don't plan to continue your term on the board, please email me and let me know. Recruitment begins in September and the new term begins in January. Wade is not here, so we'll have to tell him this, but Wade and Christina, you both need to reapply because your positions are up for review. Also, in the email that I sent you about night market tabling, we'll talk about that a little bit more later too, but there are some tabling options and outreach options coming up and opportunities. Night market, welcoming week events are going to be happening September 11th through the 19th. And farmers market tabling is always available should we want to do that, as long as there's nobody else doing it at the time. Wanted to let you know that the initial vision survey, not the survey that we're trying to develop with our project manager and all of that, but the one that we're just kind of doing in the outreach right now to try and figure out what topics to address in the grander survey, is translated into the 7 different languages, and it will be live in time for night market outreach. And there will be a QR code rather than postcards or handouts for sustainability reasons, and also best practices that have come out of former outreach efforts. And I think that's all I've got for now. Any questions?
Yeah, so I think this sort of segues into our next segment about collaborations and outreach opportunities, because the impetus behind that agenda item is to talk about how we can disseminate this initial survey. And so my first question is, Shannon, is there a finalized copy of what that looks like that we can see?
There is. I want to cut to Lani Parr. She's joining us at the last minute because CeCe isn't feeling well and couldn't be here. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about outreach to boards and commissions and NACs and how we might utilize that. And then I'll pull up that survey.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lani.
Great. Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lani Parr in the Neighborhood and Public Involvement Program. And I put together kind of a tentative schedule for what it looks like in September for the advisory boards and the NACs, so that you had a little bit of a lay of the land of what meetings were going on. And I put that in the chat. I didn't add every single meeting, and I just wanted to walk you through what you're looking at here. So I highlighted ones that I thought might be of interest to you, and that had that sort of synergy that would be interested in hearing from you and working with you. And some might look more appealing than others, but I wanted to at least overextend the net and then let you pare down on what makes sense. So I started off, and I guess I should also just preface to that, because Labor Day weekend, Labor Day kind of tends to impact some of the scheduling of board meetings that meet early in the month. And so I'm still in the process of just verifying with all the staff liaisons that the meeting schedule that's online is accurate. So I would be verifying all these dates as we get closer, because it's still in the works. So with that, I'll just kind of walk you through what I put in the chat. If that makes sense, does that sound like a good plan? Okay, thank you. So I kicked it off with the first week of September. We've got Human Rights Advisory Commission meets on Wednesday, September 1st. And then I threw in the Traffic Commission. That one I was a little unsure of, but just because of the nature of what your survey might cover, I threw that one in there. And that's Thursday, September 2nd. And then the Committee on Aging, they meet on September 7th. And then on September 8th, you've got two boards that meet that evening, Arts Commission and the Library Advisory Board. And then the next night is September 9th. That's the night of our voters forum. And Bicycle Advisory Committee, they may change their meeting time to not conflict with the voters forum. So that date might change, but I wanted to at least, they would normally meet around that time of the month. And the joys of the chat. And then we've got the Diversity Advisory Board is on Monday, the following Monday. And then our NACs start meeting as well that week. You've got Central Beaverton, which normally would have met the first week of the month, but because of Labor Day, they're kicking it out 1 week later. So they're meeting the same night as Diversity Advisory Board. And then Highland NAC, I think, is looking at Tuesday, September 14th, but that date's not finalized yet. And then you've got a few other NACs that are still trying to finalize their dates, and I included that there, so I won't take up your time since it's in the chat. And then the other advisory board that I thought might be good to come to would be Beaverton Committee for Community Involvement, September 27th, the fourth Monday of the month. And then one date that is kind of a great, kind of a catch-all to meet a variety of the NAC leaders and get in front of a lot of people. It's a good use of your time is the NAC leadership meeting. That one is scheduled for Thursday, September 23rd, and you typically have the chairs and vice chairs of the bulk of the neighborhoods there. And so you would be able to reach quite a few folks that way. So that's sort of, what I thought might be of interest to you for the month of September. And again, just with my wanting to make sure I put out my disclaimer that the dates are still being finalized, but that gives you a little bit of the lay of the land of what it's looking like for September.
Thanks, that's really helpful.
Okay. And because everything's Zoom, it's really easy to send you a link. You can get on there. You can coordinate with me. I can make sure we get you on there for 5 or 10 minutes or however much time you want. I think this is one of the few times where you can really get to many meetings, and it's efficient, getting in front of the advisory group or a neighborhood meeting with the virtual format.
So that leads me to another question, which Shannon, I know we talked about this before in sort of a pre-meeting meeting last week or the week before. How long is this survey going to be live?
2 weeks.
So looking at this calendar, I don't know that that's going to be enough to actually get it in front of all the types of groups that we want to. Is that something, how can we extend that?
I'll talk to CeCe and marketing and see what possibilities are there, but I agree. I think we need to change that schedule as well. I do also want to add that CeCe has written a little script for you if you go to any of these meetings. So I can read that to you if you want, or I can just send it in email later if you're interested. So give me a thumbs up if you want me to read it. Sweet. Okay, good.
It'd be really great when you talk to her if we get it to run through the month of September, because I think that'll give us time to get really organized here, not only to make it to night market and those big events left in August, but to make sure we hit these meetings in September, because I think these are gonna be really important people where we can not only get it out to them, but they can leverage their connections and talk with more folks.
Yeah, particularly the NAC leadership meeting seems to be really.
So then, let's see, are you ready to show a bit of what it looks like? I have another thing to discuss in this vein if you're not ready.
I am ready. I would
Great.
also ask that if you are available for any of those meetings, and I will also send them to you in email, that you email me back and let me know which ones you want to go to. But here is the.
And they're all Zoom, right?
Yes. Right, Lani? I think so.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So here is what we have for the initial survey. I'll just let you read it to yourselves.
And then is there demographic information below that? I see, perfect.
I think instead of saying homelessness, is it more appropriate to say houselessness? Or I don't know if someone in a programmatic area can just double check that.
Yeah, so I believe that has all been vetted, and this has actually already been translated, and the person, like the team who translates it is also the one who works with homeless and houseless individuals. So I think on that one.
Good. It's been a few years since I've been helping out. Okay. I think this is good. I think this is exactly what we talked about last time, was just kind of taking that initial pulse
Yes.
and getting a sense. So I think it does that.
Is everybody okay with me stopping screen share?
Can you scroll down to the demographics part? Is this a standard thing that everybody's using?
Mm-hmm.
Right, thanks.
Okay.
Well, I think that looks good. Thanks for the work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just a question. So you were talking about this is what's going to be moved over to an online version, right? But the survey window right now is only going to be open for 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
So for people who show up to like night market and promote that we're doing this survey, will the survey actually be live at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So we're actually trying to get it to extend more than a month because we want to go from mid-August through September. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And then in addition, you'll also have your poster boards with the 3 questions that you all determined or decided on, and then the Post-it notes for people to put on there too. And also we will have like a raffle. And so if people give us their information for future, like if they want to sign up for Notify Me, or if they want information about when the next survey comes out, and give us their contact information, we'll enter them into the raffle, and then we'll contact whoever wins the raffle to make sure they give us the correct contact information, and then they can win like an Echo Dot or like a nice day pack. And I've got a couple of other things that I'm putting together for that too. So we have that as well.
That's great. That's great. So the other note in this same vein is, just as I think Lani was going to send out the list of these other meetings, I'm going to send out a list of the past partners that we've had before in the vision, for the vision. And what I would like would be if folks can let people know similarly as they will to the meetings coming up, if they have connections to any of these individual groups, because I'd like to make sure all of our previous partners are made aware of this and can disseminate that among their people and know what we're doing, and just sending it over to them with at least an email saying, hey, we really appreciate your help in the past. Here, we're starting our new vision, let us know what you think. I think could really help spread the reach of this, because at this stage, this initial question is going to help form everything else we do. So being really broad here, I think is important. And then additionally, for Councilor Fagin, I'm wondering what your ideas are in terms of the best ways to get city councilors involved, because I know you have very broad and deep networks in the city, and with this new visioning, I'd love to use those to make it as good as we can.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's similar to what I tell most people that are asking anything of either electeds or anything from the city, which is just be really clear on what your ask is. What kind of help do you want? How can it be provided? And then I just talk to people individually. It's the easiest way to go. Maybe prep it with in basically an email saying, hey, we'd like to get together and talk about how we can improve outreach and make sure we're connecting with as many different organizations as possible. You'd like to sit down and, sorry, you moved across the screen that way. Like to sit down and pick your brain to make sure we're not missing anyone, and see if there's any organizations you have contacts with that you want to make sure we include. I think when we did it, we also asked, we'd love to have you join in. Just making some of those opportunities available so that if there was a connection, that the counselor that helped connect or was interested in the connection could participate as well. Especially if you're going to a meeting, and these days, especially if it's electronic, it's pretty easy to do.
Great, yeah, I appreciate that. It's a good idea.
And we're all really busy and we all get tons of email. So if you send an email out and you don't get a response, you can also let me know who you've heard from, and I can ping the other counselors and just make sure they understand what you're asking for, and kind of help make that connection if there are any problems. Some of us are on email all the time. Some of us have 6 different email addresses, and so getting to all of the email is not always easy. But this is something I think everyone would want to participate in. So
great. Well, we'll be sure to reach out soon.
And after September, we'll have another counselor. So that will be a new person to try and bring into this as well.
That's right. Okay, let's see. Anything else that we need to cover with this survey? Anyone else have thoughts, things they want to share? Shannon, anything that we've overlooked?
I have another question for Shannon. Shannon, I think you mentioned going to farmers market and tabling there. Would that be like the sell donuts and talk to people table?
So there's a very limited amount of things we're allowed to sell anymore at farmers market. So basically we just don't sell anything. So it's it would be more, we could do the raffle thing there too, as like a draw-in or something. If it's hot, we could talk about turning it into a misting station if you want to get people over there. So we can talk about ways to incentivize having people go to the booth. But yeah, selling things isn't really something they encourage for the community booth any longer.
Okay. So what I think, just to wrap up this topic, Shannon and Lani will send out the list of the upcoming meetings so we can respond to those directly. I'll send out on that same, or maybe I'll send to Shannon so she can send them that same email, a list of all the past partners so we can see who's connected with whom. And then over the course of this next week, if you all could make sure to get your responses in fairly promptly, then we can figure out who's going to talk to who, and we can have Shannon figure out with CeCe how far we can extend the survey, because it'd be great to extend it to the end of September. And then we can divide up efforts at least for the month of August via email. And then at the beginning of our September meeting, which will be the first week of September, we can finalize everything else for the month coming. Does anyone have anything else? Is there anything I'm missing here that we should be discussing? Yeah.
Just so for night market though, please try and sign up through the sign up link that I sent you for the shifts there. And it does say like setup and first shift. I just want to let you know, I've worked to make this not much work for you too on this end. So Events Unlimited is going to set up your table, chairs, and canopy for that. So you don't actually have to set up or break down any of that stuff. I'm going to bring all of the physical stuff that you need to the site. So basically you'll just check in with somebody there. They'll give you all of this, the like easels and the boards and the Post-it notes and your, pens and all of the goodies. And you just have to set that up. So that's all you have to set up and take down. And I also am trying to set up the misting station right next to you so that we can get people over there too. So.
Perfect. So I think that's all we have on that. Then Shannon, were there any actionable items that we need to cover this week?
Just sign up for outreach. That was it.
Okay, good. Are there people who are available to sign up for night market? Okay, at least 1, 2.
I'm really sad that I'm going to be gone that weekend because you guys have all sold it. So now I feel like I'm totally missing out with the chalk art and the fun stuff and the misting station.
You are totally missing out. Like your life will never be the same as the rest of us who are able to go. Sorry.
Can you resend the link to sign up?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Great. So so we should have at least a few there for the signups. And then Shannon, is that same link, or will there be something else we can do to talk about farmers markets?
So for farmers markets, if you want to talk about what weekends you want to do, I'm actually the one that manages that schedule as well. And there aren't very many weekends that are currently taken. And so I could get you in. I can, let me think about it and I'll send out an email and we'll figure out if we're going to do that through sign up or if I'm just going to have you tell me an email if there's a weekend that you want to do farmers market.
Yeah, because I think if we can get in at least a couple of weekends, especially so we have 13, 14 at the night market, if we could maybe get the 21st at Saturday market or the farmers market, and then provided that we can indeed extend the survey into September, one of the ones in September, then at least have a couple, that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other ideas about outreach and spreading this initial survey that we're not covering that people want to share?
If we are involved in a city group that is not on the list that you guys send out, should we respond with just a, hey, I can do this group on this a particular day in September? Absolutely.
And also that anyone has any groups around the city, whether they're official city groups or not, add them to the list if you already have connections. I think whatever connections we have that we can leverage would be great.
Does CeCe have the script for the email as well that we should send when we're sharing it with different groups and things? Or do we want to have like do we need to come up with one that's a little bit more uniform so that, or do we just want to make it really personal? What does everybody think?
I think if you have a connection, making it personal is better. I've sent out a lot of these sorts of emails before, so I can get something mocked up to send to Shannon that she can give an actual thumbs up to as a template. But I think any template, feel free to modify and make fit, because that's where it will always look best and work best.
Great. That would be very helpful.
Make a note of that now.
Yeah, I think having some common content that everyone, like a script that people can start from and then customize from, that would be nice.
And even just have the link and the dates, so we make sure that we have that and that we're consistent, correct. It's always helpful.
All right, any other ideas? We might wrap up, we stayed late last time, so we might wrap up early this time. Okay, well, does anyone have anything for the good of the order, things they want to share? Okay, well, we were efficient with our time, and I just encourage you all to keep an eye on your emails and look out for these emails, because I'd like to get this sorted as soon as possible, especially if for some reason we're not able to extend the survey very long or into September, because then we'll need to make sure we're all really well coordinated, because this will be our one shot to get it spread out to everyone. All right, well, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks.